This is Kinda Murdery Season 1, Ghost Towns of the Mojave Desert, presented by Criminal Content.
You're rocketing down the 15 freeway between Vegas and LA. It's a scorched wasteland of Airstream meth labs and unrelenting heat. This is no place you'd want to stop. But the car's on fumes, so you take the exit and you pull up to the gas station. It's abandoned, a concrete canvas that some local Michelangelos turned into the Sistine Chapel of spray paint penis. A grave marker for every crazy story lost in the desert sands. These are the ghost towns of the Mojave Desert. And this is Kinda Murdery. Hey everybody, and welcome to Kinda Murdery Season 1, Ghost Towns of the Mojave Desert. I'm your host, Zevon Odelberg. Thanks for deciding to be here. Today we travel about 137 miles east of Los Angeles, just off the 395, to Randsburg, California. Back in 1895, three penniless miners were wandering through the Mojave's Rand mountain range when they discovered a literal mountain of gold. This accidental El Dorado would become the famed Yellow Aster Mine. A massive tent city was born, and the tents were quickly replaced by the gold and tungsten mining town of Randsburg, a classic Old West boomtown boasting as many as 3,500 inhabitants by 1899. Today, only 125 remain. Modern Randsburg is on the sometimes too soon bucket list of hardcore dirt bikers, a handful of whom meet their untimely demise every year, disappearing in the surrounding hills. But Randsburg's hardy residents are determined not to disappear. At the outskirts of town, a battered wooden billboard, painted in red, white, and blue, declares to visitors that they are about to enter a, quote, living ghost town. Randsburg, California, has witnessed 3 different American centuries, and more than its share of murder, across a 126-year history of being kinda murdery, pretty darn murdery, and absolutely, positively, super-duper murdery. Hey everybody, and welcome to Kinda Murdery. I'm your host, Zevon Odelberg. I'm here today with on-air producer Adam Ulrich. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm
thinking maybe today I'm Butthead and you're Beavis. We haven't done that one yet.
Yeah. I need teepee for my bunghole. Yeah. I'm a big fan. So if you want to go down that rabbit hole, we can.
Let's do it.
So I am also here with Sean Christensen and Brendan Hubbard from Criminal Content.
Hello.
Hey.
And of course, I am here with actor, director, writer, star of Hawaii Five-0, Dirty Sexy Money, certified super fresh cult hit horror movie The Invitation, breathtaking embodiment of Anime Wong and Ryan Murphy's Hollywood, the fierce, the brilliant Michelle Krusiec.
Thank you for having me.
That was an epic intro.
So, Michelle, you're part of the 2021 AFI Women in Directing program, and your short film, Bite, is somewhat autobiographical, right? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, just for me to have some authorial voice. I generally write autobiographically, and, the idea is to fill in stories that I feel are missing from the cultural landscape and just from the Asian American community itself. The immigrant experience is not something I feel is really explored. So it's about my family and my upbringing with my mother, who is a Taiwanese emigre, and it's about the night she attacked me. So it's a
wow.
It was started out as a dark comedy, but I won't give away sort of the climax of the film. But it is a look at how one woman who was emotionally and culturally displaced in America finds herself at the convergence of herself being at menopause, her daughter's leaving for graduation to go off to college, and her husband has sunk them into financial debt. So it's her response to all of that.
She feels like she's essentially losing her relevance as a human being on multiple fronts, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
But it's a dark comedy. But it's a dark comedy, fellas.
Yeah,
Dark comedy.
I tried. I really tried. I mean, I really think the most painful things in life can be laughed at. So
It should be laughed at.
Yeah.
How else are we going to
That-
deal with it?
Yeah,
And here you are on a show called Kinda Murdery, and we're all about laughing at painful things.
that's right.
Today, we're going to talk about the self-proclaimed living ghost town of Randsburg, California. And taking a quick look at the itinerary here, it looks like Randsburg has plenty of attractions for murder tourists like us. First up, we're heading to the Roaring Twenties Desert Edition for a story I'm calling Most Recent First. You know, like podcast episodes. Or, damn it, Al, you're a coroner. You have to try. Then, it's on to 1908 for Labor Unions Are What's Wrong with America. Or, That's the craziest shit I've ever heard. And yes, the latter is a commentary on the former. And finally, we're headed back to 1896 for a story about the misuse of firearms that I'm calling Double Dicks and the Punky Brewster Brothers. Or, when you combine Richard's men, Randsburg, and guns, you end up with the wrong people getting shot in the back. Those are our stories today, guys.
Let's do it.
In April of 1928, the broken body of Randsburg resident and mine owner Anton Getz, who, even though he was Italian, is known to all the Randsburgers as Frenchie, is found at the bottom of a mine shaft, specifically the bottom of his own extremely profitable tungsten mine. In fact, Frenchie was known to be fabulously wealthy as a result of that mine, and to prove the point, following his death, a sum of $10,000, or roughly $160,000 adjusted for inflation, was found hidden in his house. Months later, on July 11th, a column appears in the Fresno Morning Republican entitled "Officials Hold Death Accidental," stating that following an inexplicably massively delayed autopsy by coroner Al Urin. I mean, the guy died in April. They performed an autopsy in July.
Did you say the coroner's name was Al Urin?
Yes. Yes.
That's what I thought you said too.
That's
Dr. Piss in the house.
Dr. Piss. Yeah, it's funny. I told this story to my 9-year-old last night, actually, and that's the first thing she said. She said, "Wait a minute, Dr. Urine?" Yeah. So, I mean, I have no idea why they did an autopsy. I mean, 3 months after the death, and what kind of 1928 super refrigerator, because I'm not even sure they had refrigerators in 1928 they were storing this body in. So, yeah, after the autopsy by coroner Al Urin, Kern County Sheriff Walter A. Shea is satisfied that Frenchie Getz, whose arms and legs were broken prior to his demise, and who had removed his shirt at the bottom of the mine shaft to fashion himself a makeshift pillow upon which he expired, had in fact suffered an accidental death as a result of his fall. Now, if something sounds a little fishy to you, you're probably smarter than Sheriff Walt and Coroner Al. So let's find out as we jump into Most Recent First, or damn it, Al, you're the coroner. You have to try.
So his limbs were broken prior to the fall. How were they able to determine that?
So prior to his death, his limbs were broken. So I left a key piece of information out of this frame, which is, and this is why this story is called Most Recent First. In the same column of the same newspaper on the same day, above the little article that said the sheriff and the coroner have decided the death is accidental, there is a second article that says they're reopening the investigation into Frenchie Getz' death as a possible murder. And
Wait, in the same column that they're saying that it's a...
yes.
Okay.
It's as crazy as it sounds. In the same newspaper, on the same page, in the same column, at the bottom of the page, it says, we've decided it's accidental. And right above that, it says, we're reopening the case as a possible murder.
See, this is what happens when people who work for the same place
What?
don't talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly. So this, you guys, it's as weird as it sounds, and I really want to dig into that a little bit. So, working
I'm sorry,
out
I'm
of,
still a little bit on the names here.
Al
Frenchie
Urine, yeah,
Why was he called Frenchie? What was up with Frenchie?
His
Frenchie
urine
gets.
had that sort of French mist to it.
Oh God, French
What
Mist.
did they?
French Mist now sounds like the worst lemon lime soda in the world. I'm not drinking that when thirsty.
Trying to draw conclusions.
Were they being racist to him 'cause he's Italian?
Frenchie gets isn't Dr. Piss.
No, he's not. So
And why was his shirt off?
yeah. Well, you want to die sexy, you know. To somebody's point, somebody basically just said this. I believe to the denizens of Randsburg, the distinction between an Italian and a Frenchman was immaterial. So he was a foreigner, he was Italian, he's Frenchy. He might as well be French. Like, what's the difference? So there's a Bakersfield police officer. His name's A.E. Cook, and A.E. Cook has this theory that the slayer or slayers of Anton Getz bashed him with a crowbar right outside of his mine and then threw his body down the mine shaft to quickly hide it, and then themselves descended the mine shaft to rob him. And now
They did that in the wrong order.
yeah, exactly, right. So again,
How deep was the shaft too?
most
The chef we're talking about.
most recent first, right? Yeah. Wrong order. So the shaft is quite deep, but in fact, the body falls and lands on a ledge that's 40 feet below the entrance to the shaft. Because I guess the mine shafts intentionally had these ledges at a sort of reasonable intervals to make descending them easier. So there's some reasons that the policeman thinks that Frenchie was murdered. The first is he was fabulously wealthy and was known to carry a secret money belt around his waist at all times. He was known to carry a secret money belt. Boy, that's good job keeping the secret there.
Yeah. He was known for his secret.
Yeah.
He was famous for the thing. His biggest secret was the thing everything knew about him. Well, so it was also known that shortly before his death, he had withdrawn somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000, so roughly $50,000 to $60,000 in today's money, from a bank in Los Angeles. So that was likely around his waist in the not-so-secret money belt. So we've certainly got motive, right?
And why is he carrying all that money? I mean, like, does he not have a... What do they do? Do they have houses back then? Are they campsites? Are they camping near their mines?
Yeah, right. Well, actually, I'm glad you asked that, because after he dies, they in fact find in his home hidden another $10,000. So he maybe didn't trust banks. He hid some of it in his cabin. He kept some of it around his waist. I was going to say, he sounds Asian. I don't know.
Like he didn't trust banks. I mean, did you check under the mattress or in the rice bag?
Yeah, right, exactly. In the rice bag. That's a good
rice
one.
bag. It's a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna start hiding all my valuables there for anyone listening.
They stay dry too.
Yeah.
That trick with the iPhone, works with wet money.
So the fact that there was money and a motive is not the only reason this detective thinks the man was murdered. The detective went down into the mine himself, whereupon he discovered, on this shelf 40 feet down where the body had initially landed, he discovered bloody tissues where the presumed murderers would have wiped the blood off their hands or off the crowbar they bashed him with. They also discovered signs that the body had been dragged some distance, they discovered boot heel marks that could not possibly have belonged to Mr. Getz because his broken body was chucked down to the bottom of a mine, or he fell to the bottom of a mine and broke all of his arms and legs. And they also discovered a bunch of cigarette butts where the murderers had basically stood around smoking for a while. And interestingly, Getz himself was known in the community to be a non-smoker.
Oh, well, there you go. They knew it wasn't a suicide?
So we've got some really stupid criminals, a doctor named Piss, a cop named Chef, and just all this fucking mess.
Yeah, and in other words, there's a preponderance of compelling evidence that he was in fact murdered and did not die accidentally. And let me give you another one that jumped out at me. It said in that first column where the coroner and the sheriff decided it was a suicide that this man had taken off his shirt and fashioned himself a makeshift pillow that he laid his head on as he lay dying in the mine shaft. Well, if your arms are broken, please explain to me how you take off your shirt and make it into a pillow. It's literally physically impossible.
But I'm wondering about like the actual murder itself. Like if they drop the body into the shaft and then he lands, like why would they then move it? I mean, he would have been probably dead from the fall. But then they hit him with a crowbar before, so they hit him with a crowbar and knocked him in. The sequence is strange.
Right. So
or it's overabundant. It's too much murder.
Right. So what the sheriff and the coroner say is that he crawled to a dark area so that he could fall asleep on his makeshift pillow. Now it makes no sense that a man with broken arms could take off his shirt and make a pillow. What makes sense is that somebody robbing him would remove his shirt to get at his secret money belt
that he was known for.
Right, that he was known for, yeah. And then, if he was visible on the shelf 40 feet down in the mine, they would then drag him to the darkest corner to hide him from clear view. Not that he went to the dark corner to have a nice nap as he died. Right?
Let me just crawl into the dark to die.
Yeah. So, right. And by the way, Bakersfield detective A.E. Cook, he lays all of these facts out. He said if he's horribly injured by an accident, he would be wanting to be in the lightest, most visible area in hope of being rescued. He would not crawl to a dark corner. What about all these cigarette butts? What about the boot marks from multiple men? What about the dragging of the body? How in the world would Frenchie have dragged his own body? He literally, the evidence is very compelling that it's a murder. And a couple days later, the article comes out where Kern County Sheriff Walter A. Shea says, I have no intention of reopening this accidental death case as a possible murder unless somebody can show me more evidence that actually indicates it's a murder.
It was him. It's him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Shea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shay's the one. But
Sheriff Shea and Dr. Piss covered this up. And Detective Chef tried to clear it all up, but he was just too dumbfounded by the fact that the Italian guy was named Frenchie and he couldn't pull it off.
Oh my gosh.
And then somebody wrote a book called Frenchie's Secret.
Yeah. This is like the most confusing game of Clue ever, right?
I still want to know what they did with his body between April and the autopsy.
I have no idea that I could find, and I could find nothing about that. But I agree. It seems pretty clear to me that the sheriff and the coroner robbed him and split the money and just didn't have to work too hard to cover it up.
There you go.
All right. So next up we have labor unions or what's wrong with America or this is the craziest shit I've ever heard.
The Jeff Bezos story.
Yeah. Exactly. Helicopters, news reporters, everything. So in 1908, the owners of the aforementioned in the intro to the show Yellow Aster Mine, they've had it with the Western Federation of Miners, who are the local mining workers union, which has been around for several years and succeeded in getting higher wages for everybody and bargaining successfully for the miners, which of course is a terrible crime. And in particular, they focused their annoyance on a well-liked, charismatic young miner named Fred Yockley. In fact, though, it may not have been the mining company themselves who targeted Yockley at all, but we'll get into that. So, Yellow Aster Mining Company's first strategy for disbanding the union is to essentially accuse the miners of stealing high-grade ore. And what they do is they hire the Los Angeles detective firm, the Hearst Detective Agency, who are essentially the JV Pinkertons, to prove that the miners are stealing.
I don't know who the JV Pinkertons are.
Well, I mean, the Pinkertons were the most famous detective agency in the American Old West, so they were like a group of American Sherlock Holmeses, if you will. But really what they were a bunch of Ray Donovans. They were essentially hired thugs. So, in reality, what the Yellow Aster Mining Company most likely did was hand these JV Pinkertons a big envelope of cash and say, make the union go away. And I doubt they asked any questions. So
they're just union busting, essentially.
Yeah, just union busting. So framing the miners for theft was the first strategy that the Hearst Detective Agency went after. So let's jump into it and find out how it all went down. There is a woman named Alice G. Clark, described as attractive in the newspaper, an attractive young woman named Alice G. Clark. And she's busting a glass ceiling most likely here, I would imagine. She is actually a detective working for the Hearst Detective Company. And she previously worked for the Pinkertons themselves. So this was a badass young woman. Initially, when they want to try to prove that the miners are stealing ore, they can't find stolen ore anywhere. They raid saloons, they raid miners' homes, they're not finding anything. So they decide that, well, the miners must be stealing ore, and you know what? We think that they are hiding the ore with prostitutes in the red light district.
Of course.
Okay.
It's where I would hide my ore.
Yes. Yeah.
No, you hide it in your secret money belt that everyone knows about. Everyone knows that's where you hide the ore.
I think it's the accidental homophone there. Hide me ore with the oars, right? Like a pirate or something.
And how interesting that there's a chick detective. So Alice?
Yes. Her name is Alice G. Clark. So here's what happens. Once they decide that the ore must be being hid in the red light district within these brothels, they bring in Alice, not to pose as a sex worker, but to actually pose as a dressmaker, and to befriend the madams and the ladies of the night, and to find out where and with whom these miners are stashing their supposed ill-begotten gains. Okay, Alice finds nothing, no evidence whatsoever of there being any stolen gold. So meanwhile, Alice's husband, a man named C.H. Clark, who is described as basically just being a total layabout loser. Like, I think his wife calls him a man who desperate to make good without the brains to actually do so.
That's a really eloquent way of calling him a fucking bum. I like that.
Yeah.
When did she say that, by the way?
Every day. Every day.
Every day. Yeah, breakfast.
This is a random interview.
Breakfast, lunch.
To anyone who would listen.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah, so this entire story is a first-person interview with her that was published in the Bakersfield Echo. So when they're unable to find any evidence of stolen gold, C.H. Clark, like whining as he does at the breakfast table after she's probably just calling him a piece of shit, he basically says, which he is, it's a very fair indictment. He says, if we don't come up with something soon, they're going to fire us and I'm going to lose my job. And so C.H. Clark has an idea. He says, how about this? How about we frame that Fred Yockley guy who everybody likes, who seems to be a leader? Let's frame him for conspiracy to blow up the Yellow Aster mine. As he's pitching this idea to his wife, Another man, local Randsburg private detective Joe Coplin. Joe Coplin is an alias. His name's actually George Nelson, but don't get confused by that.
Wait, hang on. The undercover cop put cop in his alias name. Either that's some incredible reverse psychology, or that's the dumbest motherfucker that has ever gone undercover.
Well, you know what, Adam? It's probably more the latter, and there's more to why that is. But he's not actually a policeman. He's a private dick. He's evil. Okay. He's evil Perry Mason. So
there's too many detectives in this story.
Everyone's a PI in this story.
And dicks. Yeah.
Well, damn it! I should have called this story "Too Many Detectives." Shit. Not good. So anyway, as husband Clark is hatching this nefarious plot to his wife, in walks Joe Coplin and overhears this plot, and his face lights up. And he says, yeah, we're going to do this. We're definitely going to do this. So that night, Alice is alone in her room when Joe Coplin breaks into her room brandishing a pistol, having, and I'm quoting from the newspaper here, blackened his face with burnt cork to appear as a Negro. He busts into her bedchamber brandishing a pistol in blackface and attempts to force himself on her.
Jesus Christ.
Immediately, I thought to myself, she knows Coplin. He just has soot all over his face. That's no
She's
no
like,
kind of a
come
disguise.
on.
Yeah. And it's
You'll never pass.
But so, because she's a badass lady detective, he fails to force himself on her. At which point, he changes gears and he says to her, all right, he holds the gun on her and he says, well, if I can't sleep with you, I have to force you to do something. And so here's what we're going to do. You're going to be the one who signs the statement that says that you know that Fred Yockley is planning to blow up the mine. I mean, this Joe Coplin guy is literally a sociopathic, idiotic maniac. And she says, there's absolutely no way I'm going to do that. Get the F out of here. And I guess he does leave because ultimately, he knows the family. He can't just shoot her in the house at night. So he leaves.
Wait, so he goes into her. He plots to basically just assault her. Is it even connected back to? He then lands upon the idea to connect back to the mine.
It's like he's such an evil asshole. He puts on blackface to disguise himself to assault her. And then when that fails, it's as though his evil asshole mind goes, well, I have to force her to do something or this is going to be a total loss. So he holds the gun on her and he says, I'm going to force you to falsely accuse in a signed statement, Fred Yockley.
But wait, hang on. So just to try and backtrack and get this all straight. She's a detective hired to do some fucked up union busting. Her husband is also a detective?
Correct. They both work for the Hearst Detective.
Okay,
it's
so they've
just
both
as crazy
been hired
as you think.
for it, right? Okay.
Correct.
Then there's this other guy who's a different private detective who doesn't work for Hearst but overhears them planning to lie, and then he decides to act like a total racist piece of shit and also a rapist and fails at being a rapist.
Yes.
And so decides to then say, that plan you had earlier, let's do that plan, but also perjure yourself
it's all on
specifically.
You. Yeah. Yes.
I don't even understand. This is so jumbled and stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, but actually, believe it or not, I am actually telling this story about as clearly as I've ever told a story on this show. It's just that crazy of a story. I'm serious. So here's the thing. Coplin, although he does not work for Hearst, we will find out in a moment, is also employed for whatever nefarious means to try to break up the union by the mining company as well. He is working separately toward the same end.
And Yockley was the head of the union?
He was not the titular head, but he was considered the most well-liked and respected and influential of the miners. And so they want to pin it on him. But you know what? this is why I said at the outset that the idea of pinning it on him may not, in fact, have come from the mining company, because Alice G. Clark, who has that total piece of shit husband, is actually having an affair with soon-to-be framed man Fred Yockley.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I am not.
Oh my gosh. Well, there you go.
I am not. I am not. And so, of course, she's not going to frame him because she's in love with him. So what happens after the attempted assault, the attempted racist blackface assault on her person, and then trying to force her at gunpoint to sign the confession, and she refuses that as well, Copland leaves. The next day...
Wait. So he tries to force her, and she just like, no?
She's just like, no.
He leaves.
Well, because he's a jackass. Because he is in her home. Her husband is presumably asleep. He's tried to force himself on her. He's holding a gun on her. But if he shoots her, there's no way he's going to get away. So he suddenly realizes, and plus he's like this jackass in blackface. So he realizes, I can't actually fire this gun. And plus she's a lady detective. She probably knows how to handle herself. So he just basically gives up and says like, okay, fine, and leaves. It is funny in the sense that it's like the misadventures of a bunch of evil, morally despicable clowns.
I confused. They also sound confused.
Yes. So after failing with his nighttime, rape and blackmail attempt, she gets called to his office the next day. And here's the reason she has to go. Originally, she was sending her reports back to the detective agency about looking for the stolen gold. At a certain point, she was instructed by the detective agency, because they were employed by the mining company, to start giving her reports to Copland instead. So even though he didn't technically work for the detective agency, he became sort of her indirect boss. So she gets called to Copland's office the next day. He once again holds a gun to her head and says, here's a statement you're going to sign that you know that Fred Yockley is going to blow up the mine. She again says, just go ahead and shoot me, fucker. I'm not going to do that.
Did he clean his face?
I'm sorry.
It's true. It's crazy. So then basically she says, she's from Los Angeles. She says, no, you're going to have to shoot me. I'm not signing this under any circumstances.
Again.
And again, he backs down. So she goes back to L.A., at which point she gives this interview with the newspaper exposing all of this. In the meantime, Yockley is arrested on the strength of the reports that she had sent to Copland that he had then falsified. So Yockley goes to jail. He pays his bail, and as soon as he does, everybody in Alice Clark's family, her mother, her sister, her 10-year-old daughter, comes out and they say, we know the truth of this story. Fred Yockley is innocent. This is all a conspiracy engineered by Copland. And so then what happens is Copland, and this is a great story of a bad guy getting his comeuppance of a sort, Copland himself is arrested for conspiracy.
Good.
Yes,
fuck that
great.
guy. I hate him.
I really hate him. So here's, it's not over yet.
Wait, so he gets arrested for conspiracy?
Yes, because enough witnesses come out and say that he's the one that made all these falsified reports about the conspiracy to blow up the mine that supposedly Fred Yockley was hatching. And so he then gets arrested for that. But he pays bail, gets out, skips his bond, and goes on the lam. Not 2 days later, Copley, now George Nelson, is arrested in Los Angeles on a warrant for these crimes in Randsburg. To which he says, I don't know what this is about. I'm definitely not under felony charges in Randsburg. If anything, maybe misdemeanor charges, but not even that. Because listen, I'm not a employer. I'm not a detective. I own a stag club. I own a gentleman's club. And as part of running that gentleman's club, I come to Los Angeles once a month to do business for the gentleman, for the strip club. And you guys have apprehended me in the course of my normal monthly business trip to LA as part of operating a strip club. And this...
in back in the day, just because he changed his name back, he goes back from the Copland back to his real name, right? He goes back to his real name. Now he's saying you got the wrong guy.
No, he's not saying you've got the wrong guy. He's saying because he gets arrested and he's doing an interview for the LA Times, and he says he doesn't exactly say you've got the wrong guy. He says, I don't know what these charges are about. If anything, I might be under misdemeanor charges, but those will be really easy for me to clear up. I'm not in LA on the lam like you say. I'm in LA in the normal course of doing business as a strip club owner. And on top of that, I have lived in Randsburg for 4 years, during which time I have been a deputy sheriff.
So his complaint isn't, you can't arrest me because I didn't do it. His complaint is, you can't arrest me because you're wrong about why I'm in Los Angeles?
Yes, you're wrong about why I'm in Los Angeles. And he says, and I don't work for the Hearst Detective Agency. I did work for the Hearst Detective Agency, but not anymore. Now I just own an exotic dancing club and am a deputy sheriff.
But what happens when you go to... sorry, guys, I'm so not into the whole prison system. I mean, when you skip bail, right? Isn't he supposed to get arraigned and all that stuff? So...
You get hunted down by Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Right. So he gets hunted down and he says, no, that wasn't... It sounds like to me he's going, you have the right person. I'm a strip club owner and a former sheriff.
Well,
I am but a humble strip club owner. I am but a humble former sheriff who runs a strip club. I couldn't possibly have been engaged in union busting, attempted rape, racism. That doesn't sound like me. I'm just a dirty cop who runs a strip joint.
So, Michelle, I want to talk to you a little bit more about yourself and your career. Now, I know you were in this fantastic horror movie, The Invitation, that we're all big fans of. What's your favorite thing about the movie?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I was so enamored by working with Karyn Kusama. She's such an incredible director, and I've been a fan of hers since Girl Fight. And to just watch her work, and the way we shot that film was very much like a play because it's only one location. So the whole film is in this dining room and
Unity of time, place, and action. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the way we rehearsed, the way we went about shooting it was very specific, and it was interesting to watch her take this one location and break it down into segments. And then from there, just, angles and, we kind of got tired of that location after a while because we were all crammed in there for a bit. But it served, that movie well. You really felt the claustrophobia of that world.
Wow. So what was your favorite movie death? What's your favorite cinema death of all the movies you've died?
Well, in Far North, I don't know if you've seen that movie, but my face gets cut off.
Whoa.
Oh,
yeah,
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Googling it right now.
Spoiler alert, my face gets I get skinned, and then Michelle Yeoh takes the skin of my face and grafts it onto her own.
Whoa.
Tries to have sex with my lover. That's my the whole.
Goodness.
Sorry, I just gave away the whole
Holy
film.
smoke! And was she herself missing a face before she stole yours, or did she just put yours right on top of hers?
I think thematically she was, but no. In the movie, she physically the gist of the theme is that it's two women, a mother-daughter relationship. A man comes into their midst, and then they're both attracted to him, and the young daughter ends up, being with him, and then they try to leave her, and then she gets her revenge by cutting my face off.
and she's just, does she actually think in her madness that she might succeed in tricking him, or is it just sort of a grotesque revenge moment?
No, I think in her mind she imagines she will succeed, and I think in the film she does to a certain degree. She succeeds until she doesn't.
Well, how long does it take for her to heal with your face on her face? Like, or is there magic involved?
Well, I'm dead by that point because so right. She just skins my face and then puts it on her face, so she's not hurt.
Oh, so she's just wearing your face like a mask. And
yes.
It's like dark in the cave or whatever,
yes,
and he does
exactly.
it. Oh my friggin' God.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
feel like there's probably some kind of commentary on aging in there where she's going, I used to look like this. It's not my fault that I'm older now, or some such deal.
I don't think so. I don't think there was a kind of aging thing. I think it has, well, I don't know, maybe in Michelle Yeoh's interpretation, but for me, I saw it more as kind of having to do with erasure of self and then giving yourself an identity and, those little themes in the world.
Cool. Well, I'm going to have to check that one out.
It's a really cool movie. Yeah. It's with, the director is Asif Kapadia, and he's done some amazing films.
Cool.
Great.
Wow. I'm reminded of Steve Buscemi in Con Air when he says, I once drove through 4 states wearing a little girl's face as a hat.
Ew.
He's very creepy in that movie.
He sure is.
Anyway,
Who knew it was a running thing?
Yeah,
It's a cinematic device. Oh, you're doing the ripping of the face one?
Oh, you're doing the wearing a face thing. Yeah, that's the whole time.
One of those.
Yeah.
That old chestnut.
Yeah.
It's 1896, so once again we're right back at the beginning of Randsburg. And a generous man, well-liked by the community, named Charles Richards, owns a saloon. His regular patron is a bear of a man, a huge man named L.A. Scott, who's known to be a brawler and a ruffian. And Scott has run up quite a tab at the saloon. So Richards goes up to Scott and he says, hey, Scott, old buddy, you owe me quite a bit of money at this point. Could you please pay your bill? This results in a fist fight because Scott doesn't want to pay. So they start fist fighting, but they end up getting separated by other patrons, and Scott leaves the bar. He then comes back a few minutes later and he says to Richards, "Hey Richards, I'll pay your bill after all. Could you come by my tent? I've got some receipts I want to show you."
The old receipt.
Totally normal.
Excuse.
Yeah, the old receipt excuse.
It's tax time. Need to turn it in. The saloon's where I claim all my expenses, right?
Yeah, those are every drink is a business expense. Well, especially on Kinda Murdery. You fit right in, Michelle. So here we go. Charles says, sure, I'll come, but give me a minute, because he may be generous, but he's not exactly an idiot. So Scott leaves. Charles Richards puts a pistol in his pocket, and suspecting there may be ill intent on the part of Scott, and then he goes to Scott's tent. Well, another fist fight ensues. And this time, Scott overpowers Richards and throws him to the ground, at which point the pistol in Richards' pocket falls out of his pocket. Richards, realizing that he's about to get his ass beat by the much larger man, gets up and starts to run away. Scott picks up Richards' pistol, shoots him in the back, and kills him.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that.
Very cool and normal.
Yeah, totally. And so there's that saying, never bring a knife to a gunfight. What I think this illustrates is never bring a gun to a fist fight.
And don't go to a man's tent.
Yeah, and you're like, my mother taught me that one. Never go to a man's tent.
Especially not if they ask if you want to come and see their receipts.
But he goes there, and then they have another brawl. So it's like they couldn't work it out, right? Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, they do. Exactly. And by the way, guys, this is just the prologue of this story.
Oh, great.
Because As you'll remember, this story was also called the Punky Brewster Twins, and I have not mentioned a single Punky Brewster twin yet. So this, as you'll recall, was September of 1896. Well, in October of the same year, October 31st, Halloween actually, a N. Richards, who is the father of the recently murdered Charles Richards, is sitting gambling in a saloon here in Randsburg. In fact, he is gambling at Johnny Crawford's saloon. It's about 3 a.m. in the morning. There are about 15 men, all wasted, gambling in this saloon. Those men include old Mr. Brewster, the Brewster brothers, who are twins, Wesley and China. China is a nickname, but no other name is given for him. And a third Brewster brother whose name is given as Sitting Bull, described in the paper as named that because he was so lazy. Now, whether that's I know, right? Whether that's a racist commentary on their views on Native Americans, or whether just the idea of a bull sitting conjures an unwillingness to work, or more likely both, that was in fact his nickname, and he was described as a tin horn or degenerate gambler. Well,
what about China? What about that guy? What's his nickname
he's
about?
Unexplained. I mean, I think if it was today, he would probably be the guy who was stoned all the time. But I don't know how much weed they were growing out there in the desert. So a fight breaks out over the card games because it's 3 a.m. and everybody's wasted. And so here's what happens. A fight breaks out between a man named Boston. I love how everybody's going by a nickname. It's like a Major League Baseball clubhouse where the managers are like, well, we got Billy and Boston and Tony and Joey, and they always like to add an E or ascribe a name. And that over there's Kentucky. So this is what this was like, right? And so Boston gets in a fight with the Brewsters over the card game. And so China Brewster goes behind Boston and grabs Boston's arms, and so pins his arms in place. And old man Brewster runs up with a long knife and stabs Boston right in the gut.
Oh, no.
And then somebody else in the bar grabs a gun and shoots Sitting Bull Brewster right through the ear lobe, like basically pierces his ear.
Wow.
And at this point, everybody draws like a menagerie of pistols and rifles, and they're just like, yee-haw, Yosemite Sam. They're all like shooting like Looney Tunes, wasted at 3 a.m. Well, as this fight comes to a close, they discover that everybody in the bar, I mean, sure, Boston's been stabbed in the gut, but he actually gave an interview to the newspaper being like, don't worry, I'll be fine. And one of the Brewster twins has his ear pierced, but everybody else in the bar is fine. And when they kind of stumble drunkenly out of the bar, what they discover a full 100 feet away from the bar, on the ground in front of his tent, is a man named Alt, who's been shot through the back and through the belly, and dies slowly in agony over the course of like a half an hour. And Alt had nothing whatsoever to do with this bar brawl. So he was purely an innocent bystander murdered by a stray bullet when all these drunken maniacs with their cartoon names started shooting up the bar.
And this is the guy from the beginning of the story that you said went to go look at the receipts?
Oh no, this is not. This is a random, this shows the tragedy that can happen when the wrong people are killed with the wrong guns.
Gotcha.
This is a guy we've never met before, a pure stranger who had nothing to do with the bar fight, who was sitting outside of his tent stargazing and caught a bullet through the back and out the stomach and bled out and died slowly.
That's so sad.
Okay.
So that's kind of murdery, right?
I would say moderately murdery on that one.
Yeah.
Twice murdery.
And I guess the moral of the story really, and this goes back to the two dicks, is that if you get a Richards man, whether it's the son Charles or the father N, if you get a Richards man in a gunfight, the wrong person ends up shot in the belly. All right, guys. Well, we really appreciate that you listen to this show and that you're fans of the show, and we especially encourage you to rate, subscribe, and review because, of course, it helps. And one of the things we'd like to do now is we have some fun reviews, and I want to read one of them. And so here we go. And this is from a reviewer named, I'm going to try to say this correctly, it's Parth Marathe. That's a Parthmarathe. It leaves a 5-star review entitled Very Nice and writes, "That was definitely moderately murdery, surpassing the advertised Kinda Murdery." So,
Thank you, Parth.
yeah, thank you very much, Parth. And once again, please rate, subscribe, review, and maybe next episode you'll hear your review read on the air. Well, you know what? This has been so much fun. Thank you so much for being here, Michelle. You've been an absolute blast. Your stories are wonderful. You're wonderful. We're just really, really glad to have you. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a lot of fun, just hanging and talking and hearing these cool stories.
All right. Well, that's our show. For Adam Volrich, Brendan Hubbard, Sean Christensen from Criminal Content, and the incredible Michelle Krusiec, I'm Zevon Odelberg, and this has been Kinda Murdery.
This is Kinda Murdery, Ghost Towns of the Mojave Desert, presented by Criminal Content. You can find us online at kindamurdery.com and on all social media at Kinda Murdery. Email us at contact@kindamurdery.com. Listen to us on all your favorite podcasting apps, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Google, and more. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends about the show.